Okay, hello everyone. Today I will tell you everything about this book. Keep it simple. 1E4, the solid and straightforward chess repertoire for white. I will talk a little bit about the author, about the book, about the price, and finally if it's actually worth it to buy this book. You might know the author already. He's called Christof Sielecki. He pretty much became famous because of this book, which is Keep It Simple 1E4. I think like a year later or so, he published the Keep It Simple 1D4 book, which I haven't read yet, but I certainly will in the future. He's also written a book on the Nimzo and on the Bogo Indian, which you can check out as well. He's pretty much famous on YouTube because of his YouTube channel, which is called Chess Explained. He isn't really that active on his channel anymore. I think his latest video on his channel is from 6 months ago, but he's still active in the YouTube community because he does things like presenting the Banter Blitz. Chess24, you might know him from Chess24. He also makes videos for Chess24 library. He's also active on Chessable and so on. So he's definitely a very active and well-known member in the chess community. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the book in itself, and we will start by talking a little bit about the content. The book consists of multiple parts. There are 5 parts. The first part is about open games, about 1e4, e5, and he recommends to play the 4 knights Scotch. Then in part 2, you have the Sicilian defense. He recommends different things. So he recommends against knight c6 to play the Rossolimo with bishop to b5. Against the Moscow, he also recommends to play the move bishop to b5, which I really like. So like his repertoire is in fact very consistent, right? Like you actually played the same ideas against different moves played by your opponent, which makes it really easy. And finally, of course, against the move e6, you can't really play bishop b5, so he recommends a system which is called the delayed Alapin with knight f3 and c3 afterwards. Against the Caro-Kann, he recommends to play the 2 knights. Against the French, which is part 4, he recommends to play the French exchange variation, which is a little bit controversial, but I'll talk about that very soon. And then finally, we have part 5, which covers other moves. He's talking about the Perk defense, the modern, the Philidor, the Scandinavian, and finally the Alekhines defense. Let's talk a little bit about how I actually use the book myself. So what I do is I use some parts, but I will skip others. So I will skip parts that I have either already a repertoire for, or some parts I simply don't like. I use the book kind of to fill up the gaps in my repertoire, and also it's always nice to have a second option. I have 2 options that I can go for with white. Let's talk a little bit about the lines he's recommending. I think the first thing we should discuss is his recommendation against the French. Actually, I think with this repertoire, he proved that with the French exchange, it's very much possible for white to still like keep in a very slight advantage. Thing is, with the French exchange, that if both players play very symmetrical, usually the position is going to be very drawish, even though white has the first move, so white has still the better chances. But okay, we have to be honest here. I mean, if black plays well, if he plays a good game, chances for white to enlarge your advantage are pretty low. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Caro-Kann. So what he's recommending is the 2 knights, which is definitely just a very nice option. There's nothing wrong with it. I just like to play other stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff out there. Against the Caro-Kann, you can play the exchange. You can also play the advance, which I think is what Levy-Rosman recommends, to play the advance with h4. Which is very aggressive, but I think very good. And if black doesn't know his stuff, it can be very dangerous. I think the 2 knights Caro-Kann is definitely a very easy and very good option for white there. So even though I don't use it, I think like it's probably the best option if you want to have an easy option against the Caro-Kann. So still very nice. Against e4, e5, one of my options I do play is the 2 knight Scotch, known to be very drawish, but it's just very solid for white. You have a slight advantage, positionally slightly better, but that makes it so enjoyable to play it, in my opinion. Against the Sicilian, the Rossolimo, the Moscow, it's very consistent. I really like it. The book consists of over 300 pages. Actually, it's 365. My experience with this book is that it's very well written. It's very easy to read. The explanations are clear. It's really enjoyable actually to read it. If I just compare it to a random any other opening book, what I have here, Mayhem in the Mora, which is one of my favorite opening books as well. Problem with this is that it's more work for less, kind of, right? Because this covers only the Sicilian defense, while this is covering like a whole repertoire. I definitely think for like beginners, for intermediate players, this is way more efficient. You will be able to have a good repertoire very, very quickly. And that's, in my opinion, what makes this book so powerful. He's not recommending the open Sicilian. He's not recommending the Rui Lopez. He's not recommending some deeply theoretical mainline French in which you have to know so many lines, but he's just keeping it straightforward, solid, easy to play, and in my opinion, very, very interesting. Okay, then just about the price pretty quickly. So in US dollars, it's 23.95, and in euro, it's, I believe, just a little bit over 20 euros. Well, I mean, for me, definitely, I would buy it again. Let's talk a little bit about if it's actually worth it and what level I would recommend this book to. I would recommend this book to everyone below master level, because I believe if you're a master, you should have like a repertoire of your own and not like a repertoire from a book. Especially on that level, people will simply use that against you. I've worked in this book the weeks before my exam. It was mostly May, but also probably a part in April. I've really enjoyed just reading this book. And to be honest, if you were to buy one Endgame book, if you're at my level, or below or above, I'd suggest to buy this one, or like maybe the one before, because I don't believe there's anything published yet that can match this level of having both the quality of this book and at the same time just cover so many lines about different openings. I would recommend this book to anyone to be your first opening book. I mean, I think this is great. Or maybe like the one before. I mean, I haven't read it yet, but I will definitely buy it in the future, maybe do a review of that one as well. For now, I'm like okay with my 1e4 repertoire. Obviously, I'm an e4 player, so. Also, if you would be interested to buy the book, I will probably leave a link down below in the description. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!